Oh, I'm live already? Oh my god. Sorry, guys. We'll just transition this over to. Let's open, let's go. Morning, Monday, March 8th, 2021. Banff National Park news and conditions. So, not a ton of news. Maybe there is because most of this stuff, I was doing this for a week, kind of trying to figure out a format and on Facebook, and so I kind of got into depth about, I don't know, information, a lot of information on avalanche conditions because we happened last week, we're going through a cycle that was pretty darn heavy. Like we had a really fast warming trend. So we had for that day, for today, totem. You're gonna have to give me a heads up or a second here while I figure things out. Because the first thing I want to look at here is the weather. And let's go full screen. There we go. So the weather for the week is probably pretty good if you're a tourist. We're expecting a little bit of snow on Monday. I don't know I didn't check the models to see what kind of confidence they should have in that. But we'll get into that. I'm having trouble just kind of figuring how to streamline this show a little bit. Our avalanche conditions are pretty darn good. There's not much I can say. Once we went through that warming trend, you can see everything generally is gone. This was like all orange and red, this whole region in here before. And now we have Parks Canada forecasts for the Banff area, Banff, Yoho, and Kootenay. National parks are mod, which is pretty good. It means that you can still trigger an avalanche, but you're going to have to work on it. I saw some stuff. I was out ski touring yesterday in Mount Fairview area. Was going to do the surprise pass. That last week we had that solar event, like that really, really warm, powerful sun. And then we also had the warm temps, so it was like plus 10 in the valley bottom. So it was obviously it had been quite warm up high too, because there was a solar crust on south aspects, and the steep south aspects it was like bulletproof hard. So that's going to make some great skiing, but it's also going to make for some interesting conditions later once we get some snow on top of that. And whether that breaks down under certain atmospheric conditions or not, only time will tell. And the north aspects also have a melt freeze crust on it that was pretty darn solid. And that was, probably 4 centimeters thick or so. It was supportive as hell, that's for sure. I ended up doing a pit. Not that I was really worried about conditions so much, but I just wanted to layer because I'm sort of teaching my daughter a little bit about ski touring and stuff like that. And so I wanted to, here was a fine example of like in this pit, we had that cold temperatures about 3 weeks ago or a month. So the temperature outside right now is like, -2 or so where I'm at right there. But, and I showed her, yeah, look at the ground level. The temperature was 0. And then the air temperature was -2. But right in the middle of the snowpack, it's still -16. And she's going, well, why is that? And that's a classic example of the snow absorbing that cold air. And that air stays within that snowpack and radiates continuously until it dissipates itself. And a long warming trend will do that. But while it's doing that, that facet layer is continuing to develop. And we talked about that last week. That facet layer is built from a process of sublimation, which is a process of where you have that warm temperature of the ground is 0, and then 35 below, and it creates a vapor pressure, and so the snow crystals go down lower from being a solid to a vapor, and then migrates through the snowpack, reattaches to a snow crystal, and becomes a facet. So what was once a nice round snow crystal that was well packed together, suddenly it turns into square snow crystals with lots of corners and stuff, and they don't pack together too well. So most of that snowpack the upper part was sort of one finger, fairly consistently, and one finger minus as it got closer to the more faceted layers. Once you got into the mid pack, there was about a 3 centimeter layer of about that much, about 4 finger facet layer. So that has potential at some point to become reactive. Where the snowpack was, where I was kind of a deposit zone, so it's going to be a little bit different. But for those who are in the alpine, where it's more wind-worn or wind-blown, and snowpack isn't quite as deep, I think you could get something that would react to that layer. So you could see some wind slabs on top of those facets, things like that would be reactive. Right now, that ice layer, though, that ice lens is holding things pretty damn solid. And in the alpine, in north aspects, south aspects even, as long as you don't have strong solar radiation, you got good cloud cover, that should hold up for the day, that snowpack. So, what we got? Let's go over here. Oh man, I don't have any examples of it. I wish I had something I should talk to you, but I was thinking about for ice climbers, you guys are going to have to start paying attention to the solar radiation also. One of the things that catches people, especially if you're new to ice climbing, is the strong solar effect on the ice, or on the walls that the ice is attached to. And the rock, once it gets hit with strong sunlight, warms up and it delaminates and detaches the large ice blocks. And these ice blocks can be tons, like a 10-ton ice block isn't that big. Well, it's big, but it's not as big as you think it should be. And people have been killed by falling ice and basically standing in the wrong position. If you can remember back 20 years ago, Ice 9, when that young girl from the outdoor school and their friends were guides in training, and they were climbing it, and she was just along for the ride, and she was hanging out in the bottom watching these guys climb, taking photos, and she was standing underneath this ice block. It became detached from the wall, and and whatever fell like the 200 feet, but it was like literally the size of a mid-sized SUV, right? And just landed right on her, and that was bang. And I talked to the wardens that had to do that job. God, what a dirty job that would be. The other things that are going on right now, yeah. So anyhow, for that, you guys, for ice climbers, you're going to really have to start paying attention. Every spring you have that. Last week I was talking about temperature inversions. Maybe since this is the first episode on YouTube Live, we'll go back and talk about temperature inversions. I was doing this show on Facebook just kind of trying to figure it out because I didn't have this broadcasting software. If any of you know what it is or kind of curious on doing your own show, go check out OBS, which I think is open source broadcasting something or other, whatever. Just go OBS, and then there's all kinds of tutorials on YouTube on how to operate that software. The other things that are going on right now are let's see. Hey, anybody curious about what's going down in the town of Banff? All right. Well, this is Bear Street a day ago. Kind of looks like one of those, muddy western towns, unpaved, where they should have like wooden boardwalks on each side. This has been an ongoing project for quite a while now, and it should be done this year. This will be primarily a pedestrian street now. I don't know. I don't think it's wide enough for two cars, so it might even have one-way traffic. It has this big sort of sign at the end of it. I'm not sure what that's about. So, but you can expect big changes. The center, Banff Avenue, was quite a success, I thought, last year with the pedestrian traffic because of COVID, so the restaurants could move everything outside. And that looked pretty darn good. And this is Snow Tips Backtracks, which where you can rent all the outdoor equipment and stuff. This is on Bear Street also, and it's locally owned. I tend to use them if I can. And they have they're probably the best price in town for rentals, but and they have the performance packages for skis and stuff. You need a pair of fat boards on a pow day, or you need a pair of carvers when she's just solid ice, which is typical for the Rockies. This is a place to go. You also get skates and backcountry gear, and summertime they have a full selection of bikes. This is the parking lot on Bear Street, but since the whole street is closed to traffic, and because of COVID, the town built a skating rink here, which is quite nice. This gets quite busy on a nice warm sunny day. Hopefully the doesn't get too hot and people can use it for a while longer. Otherwise it's going to be a big wet mess for a while. This is the sign I was talking about. Now this is at the south end of Bear Street, and so you can see this is going to be popular, right? You got Cascade in the background, way up high, and then the street of Banff, and then you want to take a selfie or get somebody to take a picture with the family and Banff, and they'll know where you were. There's no mistaking that. New restaurant that's in town. This is on Banff's Bear Street also. I never saw this one before. Was it Three Bears? Three Bears Restaurant. Somebody said it's good, but they always say that about new restaurants. And then they're good for a while, but they tend to, peter off. Should do this is another picture of Bear Street looking north. And I don't know why, but this is my favorite alley, and I don't know why I took this picture of it for you. And my favorite restaurant, I was saying, Coyotes, whenever I'm going someplace like I've been gone for a while, this is my comfort food. I come back for breakfast here, day one, and have the huevos rancheros with a side order of chorizo sausage, and that's pretty much it. Oh, Banff Avenue as it is right now. Hopefully that snow will be gone. Not very busy, for this time of year. This town is crazy slow. So that is Banff Avenue. All right, yeah. Check this out. So this is Bourgeot a couple of days ago. Parks went in and did some shots on it and dusted the parking lot. If you were in the parking lot when those shots went off, you'd be pretty, because it looks like it's coming for you, right? But it's obviously it's pretty clear it never really makes the parking lot. There's about 100-meter full growth timber at the bottom. Looks like maybe even 150 meters there. So it hasn't gone through that and knocked down that timber in at least 150 years. But you never know, eh? Nature's one of those things that doesn't really care. And if parks didn't control that, there is potential at some point that it could build up enough that it would blow through that parking lot, take through and take out those buildings in the bottom. That's where the gondola takes off for Sunshine Ski Hill. And maybe we should talk about the ski hills, eh? Anyhow, you can see that it's getting dusted pretty good. And that would make you nervous, wouldn't it? So the ski hills are all open. And the usual social distancing. There's a limited amount of place to warm up in the ski hills in Banff, anyhow, or at Lake Louise, which I've been to a few times. My kids are still going to a ski program there. I'm not that much of a skier that I want to get in line with 400 25-year-olds in front of me and 400 25-year-olds behind me till I get my COVID shot. Apparently, I'm high on the list of getting a COVID shot because I'm over 60 and I'm Métis, so I'm Indigenous. And so that bumps me up right up to the top of the thing. I kind of feel like I'm taking advantage of that because I think that the Indigenous thing is meant for people in more isolated communities. But I'm not going to say no to it if they're going to offer it to me. That's just the way it goes sometimes. Reddit. I am done with Reddit. Those guys. Yeah, so I don't know. There's an awful lot of, should you go to a ski hill or, for foreign travelers and stuff? I don't know. There's a real group of people that are not, that are just adamant, are mad about the fact that they don't want people from Quebec or anybody coming in here. I don't know. I could go either way. I don't know, but what do you guys think? Give me a... Whoa, buddy! Hey, Jacob! How's it going, buddy? What's up? You coming to Banff anytime soon? Where do you live? Hey, Eric. How's it going, buddy? So, you guys, you're going to have to bear with me here for a while. In the Adirondacks. Oh. What's that climbing area you guys have? That, was the first rock climbing in the United States. It was in New York. Come on. What is it? They're a fair bit smaller, but lots of fun to be had. Yeah, they are. You know what? I haven't climbed in the eastern U.S., but I did do a road trip with the family when Tyler was born. My wife works for Parks Canada, so she gets the big perk, the 10 months off. And so, and normally what we do is we kind of go we always just go west, hang out at Squamish, go to Tofino, stop in at Skaha or something on the way, visit friends in Revelstoke. And that's kind of our typical thing. And so we had Tyler turned 6 months old, and he got his 6-month shot, for vaccinations. And so we went hey, man, let's go east. And me, being born in bred Alberta redneck. I almost never go east, right? So I went to Quebec City one time, and I was so nervous that the because I don't know, Alberta itself makes enemies out of everybody, right? And I figured they'd just look at me as an Albertan and go like, oh yeah, and then spit in my food and stuff. So when I came in and speaking English, I was worried because I hadn't been to Quebec before. This is how naive I am, right? I go in and thinking they're going to be prejudiced of me because I don't speak French, right? But I can do okay in Spanish. And so, I'd una mesa, whatever it was. But I ordered a table for 4 people. One table, una mesa for cuatro personas. God, I haven't used my Spanish in a while, too. Right? It's been 2 years since I've been to a Spanish-speaking country. But, and then they would kind of, and I found out a surprising number of French people speak Spanish. And when they'd answer me back in Spanish, I'd have to turn around and walk out. So I didn't do that anymore. But anyhow, it turned out, I liked it out east. It was actually pretty interesting. And I thought Quebec was very much like Europe. And it was more like Europe than it was in like Western Canada. Western Canada is just like the United States, basically. The gunks, that's it, buddy. The gunks. I hear that's good, right? You got some of those old classics, and they're still run out, from what I understand, right? They haven't gone over bolted everything. Kind of like England, right? Where you guys go, oh yeah, the X runouts, the only way to go. And so many kids hobbling around in wheelchairs and broken femurs and stuff in Britain. But Britain's always had that, right? They've always had that mindset of, I can take on nature. They were the worst damn Arctic explorers ever. They just would die like dogs, like flies around one of those fly trap things. But anyhow, yeah. So where was I? Yeah. Anyhow, guys, I'm gonna come on here. I'm not that organized today, right? So I'm kind of getting my shit together because I'm learning this software. But I'm going to do conditions and things on the Rockies, and then I'm going to talk a little bit about, I don't know, things that are a little hard sometimes to deal with. If you don't, like yesterday, for example, right? Getting influenced by other people when you go on a trip. Yesterday, I'm with a family of 3, mom, dad, and a child, and I got my two daughters are there. And I get in because we have this sun crust, and it's got this thick layer of sun on there, and there's some steep side slopes to get around to do Surprise Pass. So you go from Lake Louise around Fairview, and then and in this conditions, you'd have to kick step up that, like 1,000 feet up this pass to get to where you want to start your skiing to get back to Lake Louise. And I didn't like it. I mean, I just didn't like the time of day we were there. It was pretty late. We had a couple of flags. One beacon had dead batteries, and so somebody had to run back while we moved the kids ahead, and he got new batteries. And then my daughter showed up, and she's got her mum ski boots, and so the bindings wouldn't go adjust. And so, once these flags start coming up, for me, I start counting those things. Right, and so one flag was getting started late in the day. Second flag was the wrong boots. I had to go down to Wilson's Sports in the hub of Lake Louise and then borrow one of those Star drivers. Can you believe that Dynafit put the frickin' one of those little Star drivers screw things, like you can't get them anywhere, or you have to go get a special one to adjust the binding to move it back and forth instead of using just a standard screwdriver. And you never know, like in the backcountry, you might need to switch. Somebody might need your skis or boots, or for whatever reason, you don't know what's happening. But now you got to carry this specific tool just to change the length of the binding, so you can put a longer or shorter boot into that binding. And I thought, what a dumb way to set up a backcountry setup, right? You should have just like one standard screwdriver for the whole binding, no matter what, and then people were sure to have that tool. Somebody will have that tool with you, but having specific tools, what are they, like Apple or something? They get a monopoly on the tools. We can't repair this. You got to buy a new one. Ah, yeah, try it. Is French speaking in the under? I would, yeah, I bet you they do. How old's your daughter now? Have you led her down the dark path of mountaineering? Dude, that chick is, she is. Let's see if I got any photos of her over here. Yeah, she is going the full on mountaineering route. She's also, I got her doing the, I'm training her to be the all rounder, like the person when the zombie apocalypse happens, you want her on your team. Trust me. So 2 weeks ago, we had her out on the rifle range. Yeah, so she's I got her. She's taking a firearm safety course with me on the 21st of March, and then she's got an uncle who's a black powder expert, so she'll be doing some time with there. She wants to be a pro athlete, I think. I don't know. I told her that's a hard way to make a living, man. Really hard. Hey, here's one for you guys. This is right out of like 1984, 2 blocks from the cop shop in Calgary. Me and my brother had a garage full of weed when it was illegal to grow weed, right? But no, we didn't want. It was hard to come by in those days, and so yeah, that's 1984. I'm looking like a hood. But yeah, now we got her out ski touring these days. So she's just good. It's cool. This is up in Nigel or Mosquito Creek area. We call this West Nile. So because what a lovely name that is, eh? Mosquito Creek. But yeah, she's west, and that's the West Nile, and that is where we're skiing. This is about a month ago. So every weekend is skiing, and then I've got her out going out ice climbing too these days. So thanks for asking. Yeah, it's fun corrupting somebody like that. Poor child doesn't have a chance. Not a single chance. She's just going to have to suck it up and suffer in silence. Anyhow, yeah, you guys got any questions, anything like that? Leave them, and I'll make a show about it. I was talking about decision making, eh? Like these people, and I know they have an agenda. Like I don't know if it's a catered agenda, but they had this route circuit that they wanted to do, and they seemed pretty keen on doing it. And I just did not feel like the conditions were right. But when you try to bring that up, well, you have, it's easy to get influenced by other people's agendas and stuff like that, and it's easy to sit back in the back seat and not say anything. In my case, I don't really play well with others, so I generally say too much of anything. But so anyhow, I kind of voiced my concerns because there was those flags coming up. Was I talking about the flags? They were like late in the day, wrong boots, dead beacon. So somebody had to run down, and then the guy was pretty fit, so he went down. I kept shuffling the kids. They kept moving. Kids needed more breaks than they should have been needing to take to do that circuit. And then the sun crust that was in that solar affected sun crust, and then it had frozen solid, so you couldn't break through it. But the thing is, there were some slopes that were so steep that you had to cross. If one of those kids fell off of that, they wouldn't stop for like 600 feet or 800 feet because they're 40-degree slopes that you're trying to shuffle across to get down into the valley, so you can kick your way back up to the Surprise Pass. And for me, I don't know. Next week we'll get some snow midweek, and then if the solar doesn't get too strong, should be a much better trail. Start earlier, make sure the beacons are done, and everybody's kind of more keen on it. Mountaineering. YouTube algorithm. You know what the thing is, I haven't been, you make, I don't know, about 150 videos of climbing. Well, let me finish my concept. So anyhow, if you don't feel things are right, say so, right? You can always go back, and fucking nothing is worth dying for. Not in my opinion, anyhow. Well, maybe your children. Yeah, no, okay. You could say your parents, but the thing is, you go to take a bullet for your parents, you would hesitate that nanosecond, and the Punisher would put a, 308 steel jacket through them. But with the kids, you wouldn't even hesitate. You'd end up taking that bullet for them. So, but as far as ski touring, I think far too often people get these agendas, and they feel like I gotta do this. And I've seen this dozens of times here in the Rockies, where they, they'll come in. Okay, I'm going ice climbing in the Rockies, and they got, and they're good ice climbers from the States or Europe, and they're powerful. I mean, we got classic examples of the one on House Peak, right? And then Slipstream is another one that took off some like world-class climbers. Their bodies are just coming out of the ice like 4 years ago or 5 years ago from 20 years ago. But you go into a new mountain range, and you have and you hear about these famous climbs, and of course you want to do them. Everybody wants to do Polar Circus. Everybody wants to do Slipstream. Everybody wants to do all the big ones. But sometimes you can do this and this, but you can't do that, and you got to be aware of that and be able to adjust your agenda when you get there, because that's just the way it is, right? And the same with that ski touring trip I did yesterday. It was just like, yeah, I can adjust this. I mean, sure, it'd be nice to have done the circuit, but it's no big deal if I don't do the circuit. And so, yeah. So I don't know, if you're coming into the hood, chill. The best thing is, like, you can get a lot of information on the Facebook ice climbing pages now and stuff like that. Take that with a grain of salt sometimes. Check the weather. Foam Parks Canada, they're great. They have a whole public safety team just for that. Start following the avalanche forecasts, like weeks in advance, right? Because you'll see trends. You might show up and they'll start talking about an event that's right at that moment, but there may be deeper things, especially for you ice climbers, that, things may not fall on you, but you may not want to walk across some things. There may be some sort of deep mid-pack instability or something that you want to avoid. So if you're coming into, from somewhere else into the Rockies to the Banff, Jasper to go ice climbing, this holds true for ski touring too. Do your research, right? That just makes you a better climber. You're more informed. But all I can say about that is, but all too often, like, I've seen how many accidents, like, lots, like, like 70% of them are from people who come in and have an agenda that they just can't adjust. I've got to do this thing, right? For those of you who can afford it, even if you're a good climber, you could hire a guide, even a young guide, and go spend a day with him. And don't necessarily want to go do something, super big, but milk him for what he knows. And if they're a specific ice climbing guide with Yamnuska, or On Top is one of my favorite companies. I've worked for them for a number of years, and I really like working for Heather and York. So I like On Top because, and I recommend people, is you get the same product as you do from a bigger company like Yamnuska, but it's more personalized, and it's the same guides. It isn't like Yamnuska is doing anything special for you. So they're a fine company, but they also have a lot of infrastructure they have to support. So it shows in their price tags. Well, hey, thanks, guys. I'm digging this. I should have started doing this a long time ago, eh? Hey, do I sound Canadian, eh? Uh-huh. Guess so. Um, yeah, I don't. When I was trying to tune this up on Facebook, God, I hate Facebook. What a bunch of over there. And then Reddit, they were giving me. I was posting some stuff on Reddit, and they told me, "Oh yeah, you're being all self-promotional." I was like, I thought I was just giving you guys some useful information. I don't care about the self-promotion thing. I got all this. I get stopped in the street all the time. Patted on the back. So I don't really care about that. But anyhow, the moderators there seem to have their own agenda. Eric, Mike teaches those old school techniques that make the Gumbies look at you look like you're crazy. You know what? Those old school techniques. Everybody, you know what I find is interesting is that the Swiss Army harness, right? I see them like this time of year ice climbing, and that harness I don't even know how it stays on their waist. It's so weighted down with pulleys and slings and knives, flashlights, um, even the odd ice screw and some carabiners. But every freaking thing they own is on that harness, and I don't know how they managed to find anything on that harness. Right? You got so many pockets on you now these days. Like you just like stuff. Okay, my knife is in here. My flashlight is in here. My balaclava hooker, if you have one of those things. You can stash that away in a pocket, and then just leave your harness clean. You might want to keep one prusik on there, and some other materials if you got for building anchors. But most of that time too is I use sewn slings to build anchors, and so I just drape them over my neck, clip them together with two carabiners, and then I just undrape it, clip to the either to the bolts or to the ice screws, and then equalize it, put the knot in, bang, and away it goes. And I don't carry very much stuff on my harness other than the stuff that I absolutely need to lead the pitch that I'm on. The rest of it is all nicely hidden away inside all of my layers of clothing. So I don't know the Swiss Army harness. You could always tell a noob, right, when they got all that shit on them. The especially I see guys too that come out from Toronto and they're every single carabiner like that is shiny new. Like you got to put on your really dark sunglasses because if the sun hits that harness in the wrong way, it'll freaking blind you. You'd be like a cat chasing a laser toy. You know what? I will do one. That's actually I haven't done one already, but that's a good one. Uh, Joel, you old hound dog, you want to chip in and say thanks for the videos? Well, yeah, I'm glad. I'm glad people got a use for them. I was kind of a little ahead of my time there, right? Everybody, when I started putting those things in like '95 on, or yeah, '95 in on YouTube, I thought YouTube was like a flash in the pan because who the hell is going to be able to afford to host videos and then put them out for free, right? And yeah, so I figured that was whatever. I didn't waste any time, and then I just like kind of like, we had this Paul Valulis, a couple other friends, Terry Duncan, and I had this big plan, but only to make a crevasse rescue video, and the only material we had was VHS decks to edit with, like nonlinear editors didn't exist yet, and so it just wasn't the medium. It was ahead of our time, and so we had all this footage. We shot it on like high 8 with the first 3-chip camera. Can you believe that? Like a high 8 camera back in '94 with that had 3 chips with like $5,000. You know what you can buy for $5,000 now? That Moore's law really does exist, eh? Because now if you're wondering why this. I hope this actually looks good in video, but I'm running a Canon Mark IV as my webcam. So that's with the 50 mil lens, like a $700 lens and a $4,500 camera body. So, well, when you get as old and ugly as me, you need everything you got, right? You got to pull out all your tricks. You can't let the money stop you from looking good. Says doing a video on how not to look like a noob would be another good idea. That'd be hilarious. It's pretty hard not to look like a noob these days, though. I mean, because just about everybody's a noob. They're born in people start out in climbing gyms, right? And yeah, and they only have one harness, and so their harness has their little belay badge on them that allows them to belay. And I can lead belay, I can top rope belay, I can belay. So yeah, you see those tags out there all the time now too. Mind you, those little buggers can climb. Hey, any of you guys going to Skaha in May? I'm going to be there. Yet the thing is, I'm going with Andy Shaw. Andy Shaw. God, we should look up Andy Shaw. See if I got a... But in order to do that successfully, I am going to have to lose some weight. Right, and you're talking about that poor daughter of mine. Well, you guys didn't chip in enough money. Remember, I can't even send her to college. Like, I wanted her to be a lawyer or a doctor or something useful, right? Not a mountain guide. And so, but, and I keep begging you for the Avon cubicle fund so that she could get and have a cubicle just like your children have that opportunity. But no. Now look at her, right? She's got to go ice climbing. Oh, and then, I got to drag her out ski touring, have her doing snow pits. Her mom teaches avalanche courses at Lake Louise. You can find her. I gave her my website, or my domain, mountainguide.com. And that's Rogan's Gully is what we were climbing there. That was a new route there, right? So the poor kid's destined to be flying with a boatload of Germans, 200 miles an hour, get dropped off top of some peak and have to ski in 2 meters of powder to the bottom, do it again. No, and she could have had a cubicle. But nope. Okay. What time is it? Wow, man. Hey guys, I'm gonna bug out of here, but I'm coming back at 9:30 tomorrow. I'll try to get my things a little more organized. I'm not sure if I did cover anything about. I didn't have that much stuff organized today. I have stuff for today? No. I have a little. If anybody follows on Facebook, I have. I warm up this show here with. I start on Facebook and start sorting things. And that's called A Cup of Joe with Joe Show, and it's like 20 minutes while I sort of get ready to go live on YouTube. And if you're wondering, this is me, a little picture, little Joey and his dog Jasper. This is our house when I was born in Banff, but only lived here till I was 2, and then when I was 3, we lived up here in the Yukon Territory in Mayo. And this is my house in Mayo. I know, I tell my kids, it's like, yeah, I got one of those stories because we didn't have electricity, right? And my Indian name was Running Water. And my brother's Indian name was Go Get Wood, because if we wanted running water, you had to run and get it. We didn't have a TV. I never saw a TV till we went to our grandparents' place in Calgary when I was like, I don't know, 12 or something, 12 or 13. So we didn't have any of those luxury items. And after we moved from here, we went to the Northwest Territories. But so anyhow, there's Facebook. You can follow me there on if you want to see the first 20 minutes of nonsense. But you'll probably get all your nonsense right here on the Banff National Park news and conditions. Hasta luego. Talk to you guys later. Where's this Facebook? Can you post the link? Yeah, I'll see you here. I got a Facebook Live. There, I'll go to Joan Kai. There we go. Command C. And then let's go to live stream. Here you go. Catch me at. And I'll just give you my whatever Facebook webpage. Have I told you I hate Facebook lately? I do. Can't stand that site. But I have to, There you go. Yeah, I don't know what it is. So it's such a predatory site, it just scrapes all your data. Does anybody ever read those things? Your agreement? I don't know. What do you? Skips my head. I'm so nervous. I got so many people watching me right now. I'm getting nervous, guys. But yeah, you give them full access to your contacts, your all kinds of data on your off your devices. And then they just take that and sell it. And you ever notice that? You're looking at something, it might be the most obscure thing. And then suddenly it tracks you around wherever you go. Somebody's trying to sell you sex toys. So, okay, Joel, Jacob, I'm out of here. I got like a kid to get to school, a show to get going. I got to study up for this gun course. All that kind of stuff. But we'll see you guys tomorrow at 9:30. Be there, be square. Signing out. Hasta luego. Vaya con Dios, amigos.